think it's fine.
What's that? Oh, I think someone was I just heard somebody else. Okay. Anyway, the first of these is going to be, let me get the date here, on Tuesday, September 21st. And so I hope it's held on your calendars. Now, you know, we have an all-staff planning team and we have an events committee. Those two groups have combined forces and they're working hard to plan a great event. Now that event, we had bigger plans for it, but now there are a lot of uncertainties around COVID-19, especially the rapid increase in the reported cases of the Delta variant. So now those committees are trying to plan something that will work, that will allow people to feel safe, but also give us the opportunity to come together in person. So they're planning for the meeting portion of the all staff to be virtual. So all of you can attend from wherever you are, your offices, your homes, wherever. But we also hope to have an optional, and again, it's optional, but we hope people will come. It's an in-person social networking event before the virtual meeting. Now, again, we anticipate that would be outside, that we'd have all the necessary COVID protocols in place, so there'd be an opportunity for things like physical distancing. But it really seems that a lot of folks just want to see each other. I know I would like to see people who are comfortable being seen. But as with everything that we've seen over the last year and a half, things are changing daily. So we'll be monitoring the COVID conditions and we'll finalize this event as the date gets closer. So just stay tuned for more information. Keep the time on your calendar, and we hope to see you then. Now, another thing we learned from the climate survey was that there were suggestions, many of you made suggestions about topics to cover. So I'm going to have a few brief updates at all of these, but you also suggested a presentation about the Colorado State Employee Assistance Program. And I'm excited that we have a guest speaker here today from CSEP, who is great, knowledgeable individual, Jeff Evans. He'll be talking to you. And so I'm looking forward to hearing from him. And after we do that, we're going to have some time at the end where I will provide a few more updates. And really importantly, there's going to be time for some Q&A. And again, I encourage all of you to share your concerns, your questions, your ideas at the end. We really bring you together because we want to hear from you, not just so you can hear from us. So let me turn over to Christina and she'll introduce our guest.
Great, thanks, Joe. So yes, as Joe mentioned in our last climate survey, we did ask questions of employees to gauge your familiarity with CSAP. And what we learned at the system office was that 37% of the respondents were not very familiar with CSAP's programs. And CSAP has a number of great services that they provide to employees at no cost. And we want to make sure that you all are aware of those services. And please be confident in sharing information about these services to all of our employees, including our instructors, because you're all eligible for these services. And mental health and well-being it's always been important, but this last year with everything that everybody has dealt with, it's more important than ever. And so CSAP has provided a number of great trainings and workshops over this last year that HR has shared, and hopefully some of you have had an opportunity to participate in, but we wanted you to know a little bit more about some of the other things that they do. So Jeff Evans from CSAP has joined us today to talk a little bit about CSAP services. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Jeff. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Can you hear me? Perfect. Yeah. Okay. I am not familiar with WebEx, but it looks very similar to Zoom. Great. And then I want to be really cognizant of time and when would you like me to be done by? So I don't.
I think we said about 25 minutes.
Okay.
And then also I wanted to, I forgot to mention this, but if anybody has any questions and you're not comfortable asking the whole group or reaching out to Jeff, feel free to put a question in chat, just specifically to me.
Maybe even mistakes that
I'll share questions with Jeff.
That was probably the best lessons
And
Somebody
somebody
need to
is
mute
not
themselves.
muted.
of what I have to say today.
Mary,
But
do you
yeah,
have
that's-
Please mute,
that's
please
my
mute. I'm
organization.
trying to find who it is. Whoever is talking.
Thank you, John. Chris, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, and then I'll go, and then we'll jump.
Lisa Grayfrath, please mute.
Introduction to myself, John. Obviously, I think all of us here in the last year and a half.
Okay.
There we go.
So just to restate that, in case you weren't able to hear it, if you did have questions for Jeff and you're not comfortable asking those questions in chat or through taking yourself off mute, feel free to send a question to me personally or privately through the chat function, and I can ask those questions for you anonymously on your behalf. But definitely feel free to ask questions. So Jeff, we have about 20-25 minutes for you.
Gotcha. All right. Great. And that sounds great, Christina. Feel free to unmute yourself and you can interrupt me at any moment. And all of you can, if you are comfortable, you can unmute yourself and ask a question. Don't worry about interfering. I am going to see if I can share my screen. Actually, I don't know that this is it.
We're seeing your Gmail screen, Jeff.
Yeah, let me try that again. There we go. You guys can see this?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Yeah, thank you. So yes, as Christina said, my name is Jeff Evans and I'm a program manager with the Colorado State Employee Assistance Program. So I will really move in to just give you kind of an introduction and sweep of CSEP. And so this is actually a list of really primarily what our services are. Of course, any EAP program, which includes CSEP, is most known for counseling. So I will hold off on going in more detail on that. So let me just highlight a few of these things. We do have a service that we call Emergency Financial Assistance. So we've had a relationship with a local Denver bank in the last few years, and they have charity events. And each year so far, they allot money to us. So it's a limited amount. So what we've decided to do is create kind of an emergency fund for state employees. So we try to be judicious with that limited money that we're given for the year. And so it's best used if maybe somebody is having a crunch one particular month. So whether it's covering some utility bills or food, or maybe there's a medical bill. So I would say maybe on average, it's maybe about $250 that we can allot. So I will show you our website here at the end, and because you can find out more and access these services through our website. We also offer a critical incident response. So that could be something traumatic that maybe impacts a work team. It seems like more often than not, it's maybe like a death or a loss that's really impacted a workspace. So we kind of follow best practice with that. And really what best practice is any leader of a workspace is really encouraged to contact CSEP, or it can be me specifically because I oversee this. And just let them know that you've experienced, the workspace has experienced some kind of crisis or traumatic event, and that you would like a consultation. So either I or somebody else on my team can do a phone consultation with that leader and kind of give some tips, guidelines of how to really navigate and support that workspace. for the first 24, 48, or 72 hours. And then after that, if there's an expressed desire and need for the work team for CSEP to either do a video meeting like this, no, we're not quite able to be on site maybe yet, but we can do that. And it's just kind of like a psychoeducation on trauma response and how to cultivate kind of well-being individually and collectively as a work team. Connected with that is any supervisor or managerial position, you always are welcome to request a consultation, and you'll get somebody on our team. It could be maybe there's a conflict going on, you're just feeling lost and knowing how to attend to it. It could be maybe you have some concern about an employee, or maybe there's some mental health concerns and how it may be impacting them in work. So if you have any questions and concerns about any of that, you are always welcome for a consultation with somebody on our team. And they can kind of be your conversation partner in that and maybe come up with a plan to see what can be helpful. We also offer professional coaching. So this is, again, another free service. So every employee has up to 6 coaching sessions over a rolling calendar year. So it's not tied to calendar year or fiscal year. It's really tied to when you open up services. So if somebody opened up a coaching service today, a year from now, there would be a 6 fresh available. So this is for when somebody is interested in just really wanting to work on professional growth and development, whether that's interpersonal effectiveness, how to deal with conflict, maybe it's emotional intelligence. So, it's just anything that you're wanting to really develop for yourself to be more effective at work. And so that's a service that we have available. This next one below it, this is also a coaching program. However, this is more for those who are in leadership roles. So if you're supervisors or managers, and the asterisk is just letting you know that there is a cost to this because we are in partnership with an organization outside of the state, and one of which is considered kind of a gold standard. And there's a 360 survey involved. This is confidential data. They collect all of that 360 survey data, and they compile what's called emotional intelligence profile. And it's put together in this really clean and helpful booklet. And then with this, you can have a personal coach with CSEP, how to interpret and make sense of all of that data and the profile. And then with that coach, again, you have up to 6 sessions to develop a personalized plan based on what you learned about what your strengths are and areas of growth, and come up with a plan of how to lean into that and grow. We also have a mediation program. This is actually a free service. So this is for any 2 people in a working environment that are experiencing tension or conflict that just hasn't been able to find any resolution or any path forward. So it just feels entrenched. This is available. So we have trained mediators on our team, and there is a structure and a process to this. And so again, if it's just something you're even interested in, you can always just contact the main number, and they will hook you up with either me, because I oversee this program, or another colleague of mine who helps coordinate this program, just for a consultation to see if it might be appropriate, or if there's some other possibilities that could be tried before moving towards that. So that is a great service that's available for you. We also offer presentations. So whether it's right now during the pandemic, it's all been via video. So there's a variety of ways to experience these. We, throughout the year, have scheduled webinars, and I will show you on our website where you can find those. They're covering a variety of topics. So certainly we've had specific webinars that have been developed and offered that have been unique to what we've been living through this past year and a half. So collective trauma, unique kind of stress that's impacted all of us with COVID and how it's changed our life. We've also had a specific webinar on how to talk about race and racism in the workplace. But we have a variety of ongoing webinars, whether it's loss and grief, topic on conflict or emotional stress and well-being. So I know we might start getting in a time where we are able to come on site. It's hard to know how this is going to play out right now. But if you're interested in a presentation, again, you can contact our main number and request a consultation, and you will be hooked up with that person that oversees that. If it's going to be more of a tailored presentation, maybe you have something that you're interested in that we don't offer in our standard presentations that could be doable. Usually we need about 6 weeks to be able to have time to kind of develop that and find somebody to be able to do that. We also have what's called psychological fitness for duty. That is an asterisk because there is a cost associated with this. This is more of an extreme measure if there's concern for an employee where there may be reasonable belief that maybe they're experiencing something emotionally or psychologically that's really impacting them to the degree where maybe there's concern of endangerment to self or others, or just having a hard time meeting their job duties. So an appointing authority or decision maker can always request for a consultation with CSEP and just kind of have a consultation to see if this might be an appropriate direction or if there's some other possibilities before going this direction. Let me just check in and see if there's any questions to this point. Show you our website so I can show you how you can explore this on your own as well.
Have you seen a significant increase in the number of people seeking help in the kind of those first couple of bullets, confidential counseling or crisis response? And what has the last year and a half been like?
Yeah, that's a good question. Interestingly enough, there has not been an increase. I would say it's actually been about the same on counseling services. There definitely has been an increase overall with people accessing services. So I know people have been going through their health insurance and asking, getting services through that. There's great strengths with CSEP, and it's got its limitations, and there's a limitation of the 6 sessions. So sometimes people are wanting something more. So I do know statistically there has been an increase for people in the United States accessing services, but we've actually remained about the same. I can't say exactly why, but I know some of it is people's going through their health insurance. Crisis, there's of course been a lot of crisis, but not in the sense where we've been asked to respond until I would say just this summer. I think some of that people were remote, and so I think that was a big factor in that. But I have recently, I would say this summer, as some people have been transitioning more, coming into the workspace, there actually has been some more things happening. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thanks. I wondered if, it was sort of people being at home would offset, the other pressures that are often.
I think some. I mean, it created some more stress for some, but yeah. And I think a lot of it is people's going through their health insurance as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Jeff, quick question.
Yes.
I know over the pandemic, your services were transitioned to virtual.
hmm
You continue to offer virtual services to employees indefinitely as we move forward?
Yeah, beautiful question. Yes, we've actually offered video counseling as well as coaching and frankly mediation as well virtually before the pandemic. This got just set up maybe about a year before the pandemic hit. So we kind of got lucky in how that's always been available. So that's always been a choice. We've strictly been video up until mid-June, where we open it up for choice. People can come in person and or you always have the option to join by video. And I know we are under DPA and we just got instructed this week by our executive director, if people are coming in person, we all have to wear masks. So, and so that still remains available for right now. I don't know if that will change again, but for right now there is choice. And ongoing, there will always be the availability to do it via video, which just increases great access for people. Yeah, any other questions? Great. Well, I know counseling is definitely highly utilized with CSEP by state employees. So, again, this is a free benefit and you have up to 6 sessions over a rolling calendar year. Based on a lot of experience, unfortunately, you can't use your health insurance after, let's say you use 6 sessions and there's a thought, well, can I use my health insurance and continue seeing the counselor through CSEP? And you cannot. We're an internal EAP, we're all state employees as well. And so if you're using CSEP for counseling, that's sufficient definitely for most people. It's common where people don't use all of their 6. But if somebody does feel like they're going to be using their full 6 and they feel like they would like to continue, your counselor would really work with you in finding a transition with a counselor out in the community, most likely, through your health insurance. Let's see, family, there is some latitude with family. So we offer couples counseling. So that can be, an intimate partner. It could be common law. It could be boyfriend, girlfriend. If you two are a couple, you two are a couple. And you can use these 6 sessions for couples counseling. We do offer family counseling. The only limitation with that is if a child is going to be involved, they need to be 15 years old or older. We do have people that utilize family counseling through us. I've certainly done family counseling with a single parent in adolescence, both parents and an adolescent. I've had a state employees bring in their older parents for family counseling. So it's just another expansion to the service that could be really helpful for people. Administrative leave could be granted for attendance. It's really up to whoever your boss is. So I know some employees have no problem asking their supervisor letting them know that they're attending a service with CSEP, and see if our supervisor would grant them administrative leave for that hour. We can offer a verification of attendance. It doesn't give any details, just the date and time that you attended. Admin leave is not required, but it can be granted. So if you are in a leadership role, of course, we feel like there's plenty of research to support mental well-being helps us be at work even more robustly. So certainly is encouraged to think about granting that. For some people, they don't even want to let their boss know that, and they figure out how to do that on their own. It's a common misconception that people think that, oh, well, I can only use this counseling for work-related reasons, and that is not the case. We're all licensed on our staff. We have licensed clinical social workers. I'm a licensed professional counselor. So it's a confidential relationship, and you can use it however you want to use it, for personal reasons or work-related reasons, or they both are impacting each other. So here's just some common things that people come in for counseling. So it could be stress, anxiety, depression. There's relationship concerns, maybe with your intimate partner, but you don't want to do couples counseling. Maybe you're a parent and your kid is driving you crazy and you just want to get some thoughts and guidance. Or maybe you have, an older family member that is you're a caretaker and you're just really feeling lost to know how to deal with all of that. There could be workplace stressors. However the pandemic has impacted your work. Maybe you're having a hard time with working relationships. It could be anything. This is just a confidential space to really unpack this and kind of discover some ways that can help yourself move forward. Phase of life concerns. We all kind of go through different seasons of life, so that's a common thing that people come in for. Kind of talked about parenting or co-parenting. Maybe you're having a hard time with your estranged or ex-partner. That's certainly a common experience, and so that's something that we definitely see. Loss and grief. Loss and grief is not just unique to a death of somebody, but any kind of change is really loss, and we have all experienced a variety of kinds of loss this past year, and you can definitely frame that experience as grief. Substance use, we're not a substance use treatment program, just being an EAP, but this is a really great place to start. There's just no shame in that, so it's a safe place to just really disclose maybe a concern that you have about a substance and how it's impacting your life. And there's a whole continuum on that, so that doesn't mean you're necessarily an addict. It's just starting to create problems for you. So sometimes people can find some strategies that help them just in their 6 sessions with us. If there's something more that's needed, we can really help that person find the right resources to really support them in that. Yes. Wow. Well, we've got 2 minutes. Yeah, any questions?
Jeff, are you planning on doing a quick review of your website? Oh, perfect. Thanks.
Yes, very good, Christina. Yes, so it's a really easy website to navigate. Support for all employees. It's going to tell you more about counseling. Here's the coaching. If you want to attend a webinar, click on this. Mediation. That financial assistance, there's an online, really simple application. It usually takes our office manager about a week to review it. There is some criteria, but they'll let you know about that within a week. If you're in a leadership role, here's some other services that you can explore and read up about them, and they'll let you know how to call to get consultation on any of this. Here's resources. Boy, these are great free resources to really support your resilience of how to be there for yourself in your life. You have toolkits, emotional wellness unique to what we've been living through and we continue to live through, domestic violence, just a whole variety of stuff. And I think this one right here, boy, if you click on this, you're going to get all kinds of great stuff. And that's going to take you to some really good place to find some practical help. So yes, that is a very quick review, but it's really easy to navigate. And it'll always instruct you if you want to get more information how to do that from our website.
One of the other cool things on the website, if you haven't checked it out, the meditations.
Yes.
Just a few short, little brief, if you need a few minutes to just get in a different headspace, then there's some great offerings there on the meditations page.
Yes, there's a whole variety where it's just maybe just 4 minutes. And plenty of research that supports, there's a variety of different kinds of meditation. It's not just closing your eyes and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, you can really kind of help ground yourself just even within, 5 minutes. So there's a lot of different options here. Great.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. I know people may have some follow-up questions, but it's good to know about the website. It's good to know the range of options that are available for folks. We all need different things at different times, and it looks like CSEP is able to help us with many of those things. So thanks for coming, and thanks for being a part of this event. And then, Christina, I know you have Laura you're going to introduce on another big issue.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. And Laura's going to talk a little bit about our smoke-free campus, which CSAP also has resources for, by the way.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. As part of the system office's commitment to providing an environment for students, faculty, staff, and guests that is conducive to learning and working and to promote the health and well-being of all members of the community, the CCCF system office and tenants of the Lowry campus have implemented a tobacco and smoke-free campus as of September 1st. This is based on an executive order from the Colorado governor making all state-owned or leased buildings and grounds 100% tobacco-free. So as you may remember, the system office was working with CCA on implementation of this for the Lowry campus since we share the campus with them. So signage will go up on campus in the next few weeks to remind employees and visitors that we are tobacco and smoke-free. After this meeting, I'm going to be sending out an email with more details that includes the new system office operational guideline on this and the link to our new web page on the internal employee portal that provides information and resources for quitting smoking. Thank you in advance for helping us to implement this new guideline. And as always, please feel free to reach out to me with any questions that you may have. So thank you for posting that, Christina.
And thank you for telling us about the policy, although I have to admit, it occurred to me after we heard Jeff talk about how to avoid stress that for a lot of folks, smoking helps them deal with stress. And now we're going to add to it. But hopefully we'll be able to create a healthier environment for everybody. So thank you. Any questions about that issue for Laura or anything else for Christina?
Yeah, just To be clear, that means no more like 20 feet from the door, nothing on campus at all.
Right.
That is the governor's policy with all state buildings and grounds. And, you know, we've seen that, those of us who have been in state government for years, it keeps creeping up, or, you know, in terms of the restrictions on smoking, you know, it used to be, of course, in the buildings, then outside of the buildings, and then it's just gotten, well, again, I know there's been a focus on creating healthy environments for everybody. And it's been hard for some folks, but that's the direction we've been going for years. So if there's nothing else for Laura, then I'm going to go back and talk a little bit about health, because I know some of you may have questions about COVID and the recent memo that we sent out a week ago. And, you know, as I said there, you know, we're going to continue to stay on top of this COVID-19 situation. Fortunately, we have Jeff to help us. We have Greg to help us. And he's worked very hard over the last year and a half to keep us on top of the both local and state and national developments, and do everything we can to develop safe protocols. So we're watching that. We're especially paying close attention to the increasing spread of the Delta variant. We now begin to hear about other variants. We're going to continue to rely on the guidance of state and local public health officials. That's been our plan from the beginning. It continues to be. So as we shared at the last town hall, I anticipated that at the start of the fall term, we'd be moving into the next phase of transitioning out of the more restrictive COVID environment and into a more normal situation here at the system office. But that's not turning out to be the case. Over the course of the summer, we tried to stay the course, and during that time, supervisors worked with staff on implementing this new alternate work arrangements, the guidelines that were developed by Christina and her team. Those are going to be in place as we hoped COVID-19 would start to wind down. Now, paperwork was due to HR on Monday, August 23rd, although we recognize that employees and supervisors working together could agree to push out that start date on any alternative work arrangement, again, because of changing COVID conditions. We're still anticipating that a lot of people, as you know, will be working away from the office, although we now see more and more people in all the time. Again, it's not intended to be an on-off switch. We're trying to make adjustments as we learn more and as conditions change. But as the Delta variant became more of a concern, we had a series of meetings with all of the presidents and the executive team to try to figure out how best to respond. The biggest question has been about vaccine mandates or vaccination requirements. And we are not now requiring system-wide vaccinations, not for students and not for employees across all of our 13 colleges. Rather, our goal has been to encourage everybody who comes to our buildings, to our campuses, to get vaccinated as soon as possible. Again, we've heard that from the very day the first vaccines were released. This is the best way we can protect ourselves and others. It is the best way we can help to reduce the spread of variants in our communities. It is the best way we can relieve the pressure on our healthcare systems. And it is the best way we can return to business as normal, to campuses and instruction as normal. We also know that it took a while, but we now have full FDA approval of the Pfizer vaccine, and we're expecting full FDA approval of some of the other vaccines shortly. Now, it's quite possible that as a result of that, we're going to require all employees to be vaccinated, and we may require those who are not vaccinated to be tested regularly, perhaps even at their own expense. We haven't done that yet, but we're only in the first week of classes. We have seen an increase in the number of cases on our campuses. Hasn't been dramatic yet, but on the other hand, classes have just started. Many of you have heard that other higher ed systems in the state have mandated vaccines. University of Colorado system has, CSU in Fort Collins, but not in Pueblo. Some of the other schools, Fort Lewis has, while many others have not. And it's not been consistent in terms of whether the requirements are for faculty and staff only, or for students only, or for everybody accessing a building. We're going to again try to monitor the situation and do what we think is best in terms of maintaining our business operations, but also keeping people safe. Now, there's going to be many cases where local communities, local health authorities will impose requirements that are more restrictive than the ones that we have imposed as a system. And in those cases, institutions in those communities will follow the more restrictive local requirements. And the best example right now is the city and county of Denver, where the mayor has said that all employees of the city, all people in the public education environment, they must all be vaccinated. So now folks at the Community College of Denver and parts of Community College of Aurora, and even some employees within our systems office are being required to have vaccinations. And that's again because it comes out of our local authority. The mayor of Denver has that authority to do that. So do local health officials. So for those who do not get vaccinated, there will be weekly testing. Now for the system office, this means that it's really only limited to our security personnel who work in the Colorado Film School building, which is located in the city and county of Denver. We've got this weird campus, of course, where some of us are in Denver and some in Aurora. But System Office Human Resources will be working with the security personnel on collecting vaccine status information and managing the testing requirements as needed. And again, right now that is only CCD and CCA and those members of the System Office. It is entirely possible, depending on the course the vaccine, or excuse me, the COVID positive cases develop, we may end up imposing vaccination requirements. Again, the best way to avoid that requirement is to voluntarily get those vaccines. Again, the science is strongly on the side of vaccinations. Now, mask mandates. We're strongly urging all individuals, vaccinated or not, in any group setting on our campuses to wear masks and follow all the other safety protocols that we've adopted over the last year and a half, including sanitizing surfaces, washing hands, maintaining physical distance where practical. But in recognition of the fact that each of our colleges is in a different community with different vaccination and positivity rates, and each is under the direction and control of different local health authorities, I have said that the presidents of our 13 colleges are authorized to implement COVID-19 mitigation strategies, including mask requirements in all of their college buildings as dictated by local conditions and in consultation with their local public health officials. Right now, here's most of our colleges are requiring masks in public spaces, but like the system office, not requiring them when you're alone in your office or not around other folks. And again, it's for vaccinated and unvaccinated. Even where it's not required, mask wearing is strongly encouraged. We know that vaccinations and masks are the two keys for slowing the spread. As of the last week, 6 of the colleges, and of course, you know, our system office, are requiring masking in the buildings. Now, as with everything related to the pandemic over the last 18 months, the colleges, the system office, we will all make changes to those protocols in response to, again, what is happening with COVID-19 and its variants and the conditions in the communities that we serve. So again, I'll just strongly encourage, once again, I'm strongly encouraging, get vaccinated. If you're an employee, if you know students, urge them, urge your colleagues and the students with whom you come into contact to get vaccinated and wear masks. Those are the things that I can't emphasize strongly enough. So happy to take any questions. I know many of you may have questions. And I don't know, Mayor, if there are things in the chat I've not been keeping up
There's
related
just
to.
one, Joe, that just came in. Do you see that one? Oh, sorry. It came to me privately, sorry. Do you anticipate that there will be any turnover due to the mask mandate or if there is a vaccine mandate in the future?
That is possible, yes. Right now, employers, courts have held that employers can require vaccinations, and that people who decline it can be terminated. That is simply a legal fact. Now, there are exemptions, but they don't apply in all cases. For example, we've seen some healthcare providers who provide clinical placements for some of our nursing students who have said they're going to require vaccinations and they're not going to allow any exemptions. And so in those cases, those students would not be able to participate. Now, again, we don't have anything like that. We're not requiring that of employees. If we require it, we do plan to still allow people to claim the religious or medical exemptions. We may require that they attest to that or verify that in some other way, but it is possible that people could be terminated if they refuse a vaccination. I'm not anticipating that. I think it would be very rare, but it is legally permissible. Other questions?
That was the only one that I see, Joe.
Okay, thanks, Mary. Well, I'll just touch on a couple of other things that are going to remain key initiatives for this year. First, number one, system-wide enrollment. All the things I just talked about, I know, can have a negative impact on enrollment. Many of our college presidents are reluctant to require vaccinations or even masks for students because they know some students will stay away. That's possible. It's also possible that some students will stay away if we don't do those things. What's most important is we want to, again, keep our communities and our colleges safe. So we may, again, continue to require things even if it has an impact on enrollment. But I've done 2 media interviews, one today, one yesterday, about our enrollment losses. They are very real. They have a very real impact on our budgets. We have been very fortunate that we have received a lot of federal money that has helped us and will help us over the next year, but we cannot continue to sustain these kinds of enrollment losses for long without, again, very serious impacts on our employment situation. We're not going to be able to support as many faculty members or others if we cannot sustain our enrollment. More importantly, it's not good for students. It's not good for communities. We know that during the pandemic, the people who fared the best in terms of employment were people with a college degree. We know during the last recession, the people who fared the best were those with a college degree. We know that as we emerged from that last recession, virtually all of the jobs went to people with a college degree. We need to remind students that now is not the time to wait. Now is not the time. Now is, in fact, the time to get their education to prepare themselves for the next economic downturn. Right now, we're facing continued declines, some of it related to the pandemic, but some of it related to the fact that now there is a great demand for employees, and service industry folks who used to make 10 or 12 bucks an hour may now be able to make 16 or 18. For a lot of our students, that's reason enough to put their education on pause. That, again, reinforces why we need to be flexible in serving our students, why we need to make sure they're aware that we have online and evening and hybrid options, but we want to make sure that people continue to seek out our services, not just to sustain our finances, but to improve their own lives. Second, we're going to continue to focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. All of higher education in Colorado has been focused on that for the last few years as we've been trying to close equity gaps. And yet the last year and a half, what we've seen is that the people most impacted by the pandemic, those least likely to continue or start their higher education, are those who are low income, who are first generation, and who are from communities of color or rural communities. Those are the folks we've been trying to reach, and now those equity gaps are beginning to widen again. We need to stay focused on that. Part of that will be implementing the previously delayed Teaching and Learning Initiative. This is a brainchild of Landon Pirius. It's a great idea. Our board agreed to put $5 million out of reserves to help provide professional development support for our faculty so that they could do a better job of serving our diverse student population, again, to help us close those equity gaps. Other things you've heard about, implementing the Colorado Online project. It's a huge undertaking, again, led by Landon, but working with a lot of presidents and a lot of you to make sure we're doing that right. And then one more I'll mention is implementing the review and revision of our Law Enforcement Academy curriculum. We want to make sure that we are preparing our Law Enforcement Academy graduates to be successful peace officers in the increasingly diverse communities where they'll be working. We're also working, again, to prioritize concurrent enrollment, to implement a rural consortium strategy to help with rural college sustainability. And as you all know, we're onboarding 5 new presidents, all of whom seem to be just exceptional individuals. I think they're going to help us in so many ways in the future, but they've got a lot to learn and we want to be able to help them. So those are all things I want to mention. And now I really would like to hear from you if you have questions about any of those things or anything else, or just something that you want to share with your colleagues on this call in the few minutes we have left. Nothing?
Nothing in the chat.
Okay. Well, again, our goal is to inform, not to sedate. We don't want to put you to sleep. I know doing these in the middle of the afternoon after lunch is probably not the best time. Maybe we ought to think about doing them in the morning. But we are going to continue to do them. We want to continue to make sure you have the most current information available to let you know what we're thinking, what I'm thinking, what things we're going to be focused on as a system, and where we're going to need your help and support. And so far, all of you have been tremendous. It's been a tough year and a half for all of us, and yet I see people continuing to be positive, to be constructive, to work hard, and really importantly, to be supportive of and empathetic for each other. So really, let's continue to do that. Let's help each other out. We'll get through this year. We'll continue to make progress. We're not going to stop moving forward. Anything else?
Joe, this just real quick, there was a question in chat about when you will get notice about your AWA forms being fully approved. If you and your supervisor and your vice chancellor signed off on them, they're fully approved. So you might want to follow up with your supervisor if you're not sure where yours are at.
Right, that doesn't come to Christina or to me. We don't approve those. That's between you and your supervisor. We know there's going to be a lot of variability, and intentionally there's going to be a lot of flexibility. Okay, thanks for your comments, Barbara. I appreciate it. Good to see everybody, and I'll let you get back to your afternoons. Thanks, Kendra.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.